What's the best thing about the US?
The Americans with Disabilities Act is seriously some of the best handicap accessibility protection in the world. A paraplegic person can wheel themselves into pretty much any commercial building in the country and be confident that there will be ramps in all the right places and a restroom they can use. If there aren't, there are powerful legal tools to make it happen. That's not the case in a lot of places in the world, and it wasn't that long ago that it wasn't the case here.
It's also pretty cleverly written. A lot of people will wrongly criticize it for being overcomplicated, but it's pretty brilliant. Instead of just saying, any building with stairs needs an elevator, they base it on things like square footage, etc., which creates less workarounds to avoid it. Most gripes about ADA complexity are due to the fact that it doesn't leave 1,000,001 loopholes to avoid compliance.
Wide, open, space, seriously. Go west and you can get to places that are so remote and so beautiful, with big blue skies during the day and star-filled nights.
My college town was in the middle of nowhere, just rolling plains for tens of miles. It was so serene for me. My brain loves cities and their efficiency, but my soul needs nature.
It was a fad in the 1700s and 1800s to make universities islands of learning. Most people who went to college then were sons of rich families. They were often too easily distracted by urban pleasures like taverns, brothels, and racetracks. By building a university in the middle of nowhere, it was thought that those distractions could be avoided. It also helped that land was much cheaper in the middle of nowhere versus in the heart of cities.
I beg people to get off Reddit and actually spend time in their neighborhoods, or actually talk to people. Americans are incredibly resilient, hardworking people who always want to see improvement. We know we're not perfect, but FS, the smallest story about America bad, will flood the front page, and anything seen as success is treated as the ills of capitalism and America. If you visit any American city, you'll see that it's very progressive and people are happy, polite, and want everyone to be who they are. It's easy to get trapped in the clickbait headlines, but remember that Reddit is a big karma farm and doesn't reflect real life. I came from a very poor upbringing, a large urban public school, and was able to graduate college and create a pretty comfortable life for myself. I'm not rich by any means, but my life is pretty good. I don't think I could have had this life if I lived in other parts of the world. Visit an American park on a Saturday. At least where I live, you'll find diversity, natural resources, friendly people, families, and no judgment. We're not what the extreme right wants us to be, and we never will. We don't wait for the government to do something for us. If we want something, we build it. And if people like it, they support it. You can't stop an ambitious American. I'll kindly accept your downvotes now.
I moved to Germany almost 3 years ago, and I can tell you what I miss. How goddamn friendly Americans are.
When I visit my parents in Germany, the friendliest person to me is the immigrant dude who sells kebab outside an Adika.
I really like the diversity in this country, how anyone can be an American, and you have no idea who is American and who is not. That's my favorite thing. You have no idea who is just sightseeing, who is visiting family, who is here on a student visa, versus who is actually American. So until someone says otherwise, we are going to assume you are American. Doesn't matter how thick your accent is. Doesn't matter how you dress. You are American until otherwise noticed. Also, I love how quickly we adopt things from our immigrants and declare it American. It's like, what are you eating? Is it delicious? Let me try some of that. Oh God, this is delicious. Go open up a restaurant. More people should be eating this, and now it's part of the American fabric. I love how the American tongue is such a mutt language, how quickly we adapt non-English words, and more often than not pronounce them how they would be pronounced in their native tongue. We don't try make them more English, like the way the French will French up foreign words. I like how it's easy to correct an American by saying, it's actually pronounced this way, and they will have a go at trying to say it correctly rather than huff and puff and try to make you change the way you say it. Language is so adaptable here. It's far more forgiving than other languages. You can butcher it up here, and as long as we understand the idea of what you are trying to convey, you will get a pass. I think it's why it is such a juggernaut on a global stage. Yes, we have language rules, but the native speakers will mostly ignore them in order to communicate better.
I feel like entertainment is something the US does extremely well. Want to go to a show? The US has you covered regardless of how niche your taste is.
I love that this also varies by city. You can find all kinds of shows or events, but cities tend to have their own specialties.
I'm a high school student in Tucson, Arizona right now, and about 3 weeks ago, we got 4 days off school for rodeo break. We literally get days off school when the rodeo is on.
Growing up in Louisiana, the Friday before the opening weekend of squirrel season was an excused absence. If that's not some redneck shit, then I don't know what is.
Having lived in Southeast Asia for the last couple of years, disability rights and accessibility is pretty amazing in the United States. Also, people on both the right and the left feel like the fucking sky is falling in America. But again, living outside the United States, you realize how good most people have it.
This is what I try to tell people all the time. Now, this is not some America is #1 type rant. America is not perfect, and a lot of its criticism has at least some merit. But if you genuinely believe you weren't lucky to have been born here, all I have to tell you is that will change if you visit a developing country and see with your own eyes how like 90–95% of the rest of the world's population lives.
Our neighbor down the road fled Sudan in the 1980s and made it to the US as a refugee. She lost her father, 2 brothers, and most of her extended family as they were related to the wrong political leader that was killed. Her mother and 2 sisters arrived with literally nothing in the late 80s. She is now a nurse, making $100K a year, married to a firefighter with 3 kids living on a property with 8 acres and a 5-bedroom house. One sister is a school teacher, and the other manages a Barnes & Noble. That is pretty cool.
It might seem anecdotal, but this is it. Millions of stories of people who came here for a better future and made it happen. Very few places in the world can facilitate that. The US is definitely one of them.
1. It has almost every climate-type terrain you can think of. Desert, forest, tropical, mountains, etc. 2. Anything is possible mentality. As someone from Europe, I find we are stuck in our ways and hold on to tradition a lot more than Americans. This is cool in some ways, but can hold us back in terms of ingenuity when it comes to things like food and technology. The Americans aren't afraid to put pineapple on pizza, for example, whereas you would be chased out of Naples for trying such a thing. 3. Highest cultural output of any country in the world. Most trends in movies, technology, and music can be traced back to America.
People shit on America for not having a deep-rooted culture, and though that isn't exactly true, Cajun, Creole, Native American, Western cowboy, etc., it does provide a great breeding ground for some amazing cultural combinations because of that. It can clearly be seen in our food, slang, music, and media.
Variety of landscapes, lifestyles, and culture. You can choose a region state that suits you and your lifestyle, beliefs, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. You are free to be. While in no way is the US perfect, no place really is, and there are a lot of fucked up people, and we need to fix our healthcare system, it still has a lot going for it.
Variety is the spice of life. If you want food, anything you can imagine from any country on Earth, we have it. Prepared by natives of that country. If you want to go to the beach and go skiing on the same day, we can make that happen. If you want to move out to the woods where your nearest neighbor is 20 miles away, we can do that.
The food. Because we are a melting pot, I can eat basically any ethnicity's food without leaving my city. Bonus points. If the place looks sketchy and your chances of getting robbed are high, the food will be amazing.
The dirtier and more broken down it is, the more you know the food will be the bomb. Some hole in the wall place that basically looks like an abandoned house will sell you the tastiest southern food ever.
USA is a great place to be an engineer. We pay our engineers better than any other country. If you can get a relatively inexpensive degree in engineering, then you can most likely swing middle class, no problem.
What else should Americans, and those who have found their home in the United States, be proud of? What makes the United States different from other countries? What is there that other countries don't have, or vice versa? Share your opinions in the comments. Put a like and subscribe to the channel to not miss more interesting life stories.